The evening fog rolled in over the small village cemetery, thick and heavy, muting the last traces of sunlight. Amid the tombstones, a small black cat appeared, her fur glistening wet from a recent drizzle. She moved silently, paws barely making a sound on the damp earth, as if she belonged to another world entirely. No one had seen her arrive, no one knew from where she came. Villagers whispered about her, calling her a spirit or an omen, yet no one dared approach. The cat paused in front of a grave adorned with wilted flowers. It was old and weathered, the name barely legible on the moss-covered stone. The cat circled it, sniffing the air with a strange familiarity before curling up beside it. She closed her eyes, yet her ears twitched at every creak of the wind, every whisper of the leaves. She seemed almost human in her loyalty, a guardian silently promising eternal companionship to the one resting beneath the stone. That night, the cemetery felt alive. Shadows danced between the stones, and the distant hoot of an owl echoed through the fog. The villagers would later swear they saw two glowing eyes reflecting in the dark, watchful, patient, and unwavering. And there, on the cold earth, the small cat slept, her presence becoming the first thread in a story no one could have anticipated. The cat remained by the grave through the night, her small body curled against the cold stone. The village slept, but the cemetery was alive with whispers, voices only the night and the lonely could hear. She listened intently, her green eyes reflecting a dim silver light, as if she could see beyond the veil of the living. Long ago, the grave had belonged to a young woman named Alara. She had been gentle and kind, her laughter echoing through the village like a melody carried by the wind. But fate had been cruel. One stormy night, illness took her from the world too soon, leaving the villagers with nothing but memories and sorrow. Her family had moved away, leaving her resting place forgotten, except by the small black cat who now guarded it. As the hours passed, the wind carried faint echoes, laughter, footsteps, whispers. The cat twitched her ears, following each sound with unwavering focus. Sometimes it felt like someone invisible brushed past her fur, leaving a faint warmth that made her purr softly. Though she had never known Alara in life, the bond that drew her here was unexplainable. It was as if the cat understood loss, loneliness, and love in a way humans rarely could. By dawn, the fog had lifted slightly, revealing the worn gravestone in clearer detail. The cat stretched and yawned, her tail flicking as she surveyed the graveyard. Her vigil was only beginning, but already the villagers who walked past would feel the weight of her silent devotion. Something about her presence told them that stories, old and forgotten, had a way of lingering long after those who lived them were gone. Days passed, and the cat's vigil never wavered. She became a silent fixture of the cemetery, her dark fur blending with shadows as villagers hurried past. Most ignored her, some whispered, and a few left scraps of food. But the cat's attention never shifted from the grave of Alara. One late afternoon, a young girl wandered into the cemetery, her footsteps hesitant. Her name was Lila, and she had recently moved into the village. Drawn by the aura of the old graveyard, she froze when she saw the black cat sitting motionless beside a gravestone. The cat's green eyes met hers, unblinking, piercing, as if she were measuring the girl's intentions. "Are you guarding someone?" Lila asked softly, unsure whether the cat could understand. The black cat tilted her head slightly, then resumed her vigil, her gaze returning to the gravestone. Lila stepped closer, noticing the faded flowers and moss-covered letters. Something in the air made her shiver, not from fear, but from a deep, inexplicable sadness. For the next hour, Lila sat quietly on the damp grass. The cat remained by the grave, occasionally brushing her fur against the stone, as if she were comforting someone invisible. Lila felt a connection forming, a strange, gentle pull. It was as though the cat could see not only the past, but the present and even the future. When she finally left, Lila glanced back, and the cat's unwavering eyes seemed to promise that she would always be waiting, watching. That night, Lila dreamt of Alara. The girl smiled, her laughter like a melody carried by the wind. She whispered something she couldn't understand, but the warmth in her words lingered even as the dream faded. Somewhere, the black cat listened, curled beside her silent friend, her vigil unbroken. Night fell over the cemetery. the moon casting long, silver shadows across the gravestones. The black cat remained vigilant, her eyes scanning the darkness. She had begun to sense something unusual, whispers that weren't carried by the wind, shapes that moved too deliberately among the stones. It was as if the graveyard itself had secrets it wanted to reveal. Leela, unable to shake the pull she felt toward the old cemetery, returned that night. She crept past the village's quiet streets, lantern in hand, her heart pounding with both fear and curiosity. When she reached the grave, the cat was waiting, sitting perfectly still as though she had expected Leela all along. The girl knelt beside the gravestone, noticing a faint glow around the letters etched into the stone. Her breath caught. She could almost feel a presence watching them both. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the cemetery. Shadows twisted and stretched unnaturally. The cat's ears twitched, her body tensing as if sensing an unseen force. Leela shivered, gripping the lantern tighter. A faint whisper drifted to her ears, almost like a melody. "Thank you," it said. She looked around, but the graveyard was empty, except for the cat, her glowing eyes fixed on the ground. The black cat stepped closer to the gravestone, brushing her fur along the carved letters. Leela reached out tentatively, touching the cool stone. In that moment, a strange warmth spread through her hand, a sense of comfort and peace that was inexplicable. The bond between the cat, the girl, and the unseen spirit of Alara was strengthening. Something in the cemetery had awakened, and the cat was its guardian, silently guiding the living and honoring the dead. Over the next few nights, Leela returned to the cemetery, drawn irresistibly to the grave and the black cat. With every visit, she learned to move quietly, respecting the silent rhythm of the cat's vigil. She brought flowers sometimes, or a small blanket for the cat to sit on, though the feline rarely accepted them. It seemed as though the cat's loyalty was not to comfort, but to a deeper purpose, something unseen yet profoundly powerful. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows lengthened, Leela noticed that the cat was not alone. Subtle traces of movement stirred the fog, and soft, ephemeral shapes flickered among the stones. The cat's ears twitched, and she hissed softly, not out of fear, but warning. Leela watched in awe as tiny motes of light seemed to gather near the grave, illuminating the carved letters of Alara's name. Leela reached out to touch the gravestone, and a gentle warmth spread from the stone to her fingertips. The cat brushed against her hand, purring lowly, as if to say, "You are part of this now." The girl felt a surge of understanding. Alara's spirit was not angry or lost. She had been waiting for someone to remember her, someone to honor her existence. And the cat, loyal beyond measure, had been guiding her all along. As darkness fell completely, Leela spoke softly, almost in a whisper. "I'll come back. I'll never forget you." The cat's green eyes glowed brighter, almost acknowledging the promise. That night, as Leela left the cemetery, she felt the weight of unseen eyes following her, watchful, protective, and silently grateful. The black cat remained, curled beside the grave, her loyalty unbroken, her vigil eternal. And in the quiet cemetery, something had shifted, a bond had formed, one that would intertwine the living, the departed, and the guardian who watched over them both. A thick fog rolled into the cemetery that night, heavier than before, swallowing paths and gravestones in a ghostly white haze. The black cat remained vigilant, her green eyes glowing like lanterns in the mist. Lila approached cautiously, her footsteps muffled by the soft earth. The air felt charged, alive with whispers too faint for ordinary ears. As she knelt beside the grave, the fog swirled unnaturally around the cat and gravestone. Shapes flickered at the edges of Lila's vision, shadows that resembled people long gone. The black cat stiffened, ears swiveling, tail flicking. A whisper floated through the mist, barely audible. "Do not be afraid." The voice was gentle, yet carried the weight of longing. Lila realized it was Alara, speaking through the fog. The cat brushed against the gravestone, and then Lila, guiding her to place her hands on the cold stone. Suddenly, Lila felt a warmth spreading from the grave into her chest, like a heartbeat syncing with her own. Her eyes widened as faint images appeared in the mist, moments of Alara's life, laughter, dancing, and fleeting joy long forgotten. The cat remained still, a guardian of the past, mediating between the living and the spirit. Time seemed to stretch, the fog thickening and thinning like breathing. When it finally lifted, the cemetery appeared quiet, almost ordinary, yet the air hummed with a lingering presence. Lila rose, her heart pounding, understanding now that the black cat's vigil was more than loyalty. It was a bridge. The living and the dead were connected, and she had been invited to cross that bridge. Weeks passed, and the black cat continued her unwavering vigil. Lila visited almost every evening, feeling a connection that grew stronger with each encounter. One evening, she noticed something strange, a faint outline on the gravestone that had never been visible before. It seemed as though the moss shifted to reveal a hidden message, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The cat pawed at the grave, circling the outline, her tail flicking with urgency. Lila knelt closer, brushing away moss and dirt. Carved into the stone were words she could barely decipher. Find the box, protect the memory. Her heart raced. Could Alara have left something behind, a secret meant to be discovered? The cat remained motionless, her green eyes fixed on the shadows, almost urging Lila forward. The wind whispered again, carrying a melodic echo that seemed to form words. Trust the guardian. Lila understood. The cat was not merely a pet or a mourner. She was the keeper, the protector of a story that had been buried with time and sorrow. Lila looked around the quiet cemetery. The moonlight glimmered on another gravestone nearby. Compelled by an unseen force, she stepped carefully toward it, the black cat following closely. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every heartbeat urged her forward. Somewhere in the silence lay the truth, hidden, fragile, and waiting to be uncovered. That night, under the watchful gaze of her feline companion, Lila realized that Alara's story was far from over. The cat had led her here for a reason. Together, they would unearth the past and honor the memory that refused to fade. The next evening, Lila returned to the cemetery, her heart racing with anticipation. The black cat led her immediately to the grave, brushing past her legs as if urging her forward. Lila knelt and pressed her hands against the cold stone, feeling a faint indentation beneath the carved words. Her fingers traced the contours carefully, revealing a small hidden compartment. With trembling hands, she pulled out a small, weathered wooden box, its surface etched with symbols she didn't recognize. The cat circled her, tail flicking, eyes glowing with a strange intensity. Lila opened the box slowly. Inside lay a collection of letters tied with a faded ribbon, a locket containing a delicate portrait of Alara, and a small key that seemed oddly important. As she lifted the locket, the wind whispered through the trees, parrying the soft sound of a voice. "Thank you." Lila gasped, feeling the presence of Alara close by. The cat nudged the box gently, as if reminding Lila that this was more than just an artifact. It was a piece of a memory too precious to be lost. The letters revealed a story of love, friendship, and untold secrets. Alara had hidden these pieces intentionally, entrusting their discovery to someone she could trust. And now, guided by the black cat, Lila had become the keeper of that legacy. The cemetery seemed to hum with approval, the fog shifting gently as though in quiet celebration. That night, Lila sat beside the grave, reading the letters by lantern light. The cat remained curled next to her, vigilant and patient, guarding not just the grave, but the fragile bridge between past and present, life and memory. That night, under a pale silver moon, Lila returned to the cemetery with the wooden box clutched tightly in her hands. The black cat was already waiting, sitting motionless beside Alara's grave, her glowing green eyes scanning the shadows. The air felt heavier, charged with anticipation, as if the night itself knew a secret was about to unfold. Lila carefully opened the box, spreading the letters and locket on the damp grass. As she read aloud one of the letters, the fog around the grave began to swirl, forming faint, ethereal shapes. A soft voice, unmistakably Alara's, echoed through the mist. "You've found me, and now you understand." Lila shivered, yet she felt no fear, only a profound sense of connection. The black cat moved closer to the gravestone, pressing her body against the stone and purring lowly. The letters revealed the deepest secret. Alara had hidden a key to a small chest buried beneath the old oak tree at the edge of the cemetery. The chest contained not treasures of gold, but memories, mementos, diaries, and sketches that chronicled a life full of love, sorrow, and forgotten joy. With the cat leading the way, Lila approached the oak tree. Every step felt surreal, the fog parting just enough to reveal the ground beneath. Her fingers brushed the soil, uncovering a small iron-bound chest. She lifted it carefully, feeling the weight of history in her hands. The cat sat beside her, vigilant, eyes glowing with pride and unwavering loyalty. Together, they had bridged the gap between the living and the past, guardians of a story that would never fade. The night was still, almost sacred, as Lila knelt beside the chest she had unearthed. The black cat remained steadfast at her side, eyes glowing like lanterns, reflecting the weight of countless untold stories. She opened the chest carefully, revealing diaries, sketches, and trinkets, fragments of a life long gone, preserved by love, memory, and fate. As Lila touched the items, a warm, gentle breeze swept through the cemetery. The fog shifted, forming a luminous figure beside the grave, Alara herself. Her eyes shone with gratitude, her lips curved in a serene smile. "You've remembered me," she whispered, her voice blending with the rustling leaves. "And you've honored what I could not leave behind." The cat rubbed against Lila's legs, purring, a silent sentinel in this meeting of worlds. Lila realized the truth. The black cat was not merely guarding a grave. It had been protecting a bridge between life and memory, ensuring that love, loss, and devotion would endure. For a long while, they sat in silence, the cat and Lila side by side, sharing the quiet with the spirit of Alara. When Lila finally rose to leave, she felt a newfound peace, a connection to the past that would never fade. She glanced back, and the cat remained, ever vigilant beside the gravestone, a guardian of stories, memories, and hearts. From that night on, villagers who wandered past noticed the black cat sitting by the grave, alone yet serene. They whispered tales of loyalty, devotion, and the mysterious bond between a living heart and the echoes of the departed. And there, amidst the tombstones, the black cat's vigil continued, eternal, unwavering, and full of quiet, sacred purpose.